One of the biggest perks of driving an electric car is the fact that you can charge from the comfort of your own home. Odds are your house has electricity and you can use that to fuel your car while it's parked in your garage or driveway. But what if you want to take that a step further and create your own electricity? Well, that's exactly what some EV owners here in Columbus are doing, and I got a chance to chat with them about their home solar setups, so here are those conversations, and I hope you enjoy. What's going on, everybody? I'm here with Jackie. He's got a, you said 9 kilowatts? Is that the total?
About a little bit less.
9 kilowatt
Yep.
solar installed here. What do you think your biggest motivation for adding solar was?
So I have an electric vehicle, and I just wanted to try to be a little bit more sustainable in terms of my energy production. Plus,
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, so I have a Bitcoin mine downstairs,
Yep.
and I have a 3D printer, so a lot of things that pull a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
So I wanted to supplement some of that.
And what was the install process like for you? Did they pretty much take care of everything? Or
Yeah,
was
I
it-
mean, I was kind of impressed because I thought that there'd be a little bit more pushback. I live in a historic neighborhood, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of regulations around, appearance, outside appearance, and things like that. But they did a really good job of making sure all of that got taken care of. They worked with the Public Utilities Commission to make sure everything got approved. There was, some hiccup because my roof's a little too steep, and they had a little bit of trouble with it, and then it snowed the next day.
Oh, okay.
But mainly just natural issues.
That's good to know that you can do something like this in a historic neighborhood. So they pretty much took care of permitting or anything like that.
Yep.
you had
No,
to
I mean,
deal
they
with.
were in charge of all that.
I
So,
gotcha.
if they did something wrong, I'm going back to them.
And what was your power bill like? Have you noticed a huge difference in
So we've only had this
everything?
since March 17th, I want to say, 18th.
Oh, so it's
So
almost
we
new.
did see about a $40 to $50 difference last month.
Okay.
So you have what most people don't realize about an electric bill is even if you don't have any electric going through it, you still have to pay for the connection into the network. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that can be a fairly sizable fee, but so it's not necessarily going to be free, right? But we did see, we have a fairly high electric bill because of all of the things I talked about,
Yeah.
right? And we did see a decrease, and it seems to align pretty well with the projections that are coming from the application. So,
That's good.
And it's nice because this one provides things like APIs, so I can actually use an HTTP request to go into the box to see if it's working or not. So that works
Okay.
great for things like my Internet of Things network and
Yeah.
stuff like that, where I can, instead of having to rely on maybe a sun up, sun down web service, I can actually, if the sun goes down because the clouds are overhead and
Yeah.
it can't get through, right? Then I can automatically start turning on lights and turn them off again when
Yeah.
it comes back out. So there's a lot of cool
That is neat.
little factors you can do with it.
You said it's a 9 kilowatt system. Was that basically the max you could fit on
That's
your
the
roof?
max. I would say it's not the max. I think we could have put 1 or 2 more panels down.
Okay.
But I wanted to start with a more mid-range system because I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of, like I said, I'm a tinkerer.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see,
See
how
how it works
worked,
first before.
kind of get some real-world numbers, and then kind of make any adjustments that I needed to after the fact.
Anything you would suggest people check out or kind of know ahead of time if they want to do something like this on their own house?
Sure. Well, one of the most important things to remember is that it depends on which side of the roof you're on. So, like mine is an 8 kilowatt system, but it only gets about 4 kilowatts in the morning and 4 kilowatts in the afternoon
Yeah.
because one side's getting the power on one side. So really pay attention to the projection curves that they give you to make sure that you understand
Okay.
how that's going to work. Like I said, just make sure that you understand that there's a fee to just connect to the network, so you're not necessarily going to go to zero.
Yeah.
Also, make sure that you remove any kind of distributor on your account for AEP because that could mess up you getting paid back if you go over.
Okay.
So,
Final question. Do you think it's been worth it to have it so far? I know it's been a short time, kind of hard to say.
well, for me, it's worth it because my goals weren't necessarily to cash flow or anything
Yeah.
like that. My goals were just to kind of have my own personal, sustainable situation, right?
Yeah.
And also to be able to play around with it, figure out how the inverter works and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So to me, it was worth it. I mean, even at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody that is completely, physically focused or something like that, it would probably take a couple months to actually
Yeah.
be able to project that out. All right, even a whole year. The other thing that was nice about my situation too is that the financing. It's right
Okay.
now through who I went through, it was 1% financing.
Wow.
So I mean,
Okay.
really low.
Yeah.
1.5, something like that. But of course, be careful because places will give you low financing and increase the cost, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that there's people out there that are willing to lend for a pretty low amount.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, appreciate you having me out to your house and inviting me
no
to check it
problem.
all out.
No problem. Thanks for being interested.
For sure. For sure. All right, so we're here with Bill. He has solar on his house as well. How long have you had solar installed here?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. And what size is your system? What kind of like?
It has a
install is it?
capacity of 7.2 kilowatts.
Okay.
We never really produce 7 kilowatts at any given instant,
Yeah.
but of course we have some east facing, some south facing, and some west facing, as
Yeah.
you can see. And so we'll be producing for a long time during the day.
Okay. Did you guys go with a finance system, or did you just pay for it?
No,
up
we
front?
just paid up front.
I
We have
gotcha.
the capability to do that. And of course we wanted the tax credit.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. What is that tax credit like for you guys?
It was 30%.
Oh, okay.
At that time. I believe that has now decreased a little bit.
I gotcha. And do you have battery backup here?
No, we don't.
Don't. Okay.
In
So you're-
Ohio, it's hard to make battery backup pay off because we don't have time of day rate,
Yeah.
electric rates, and we can only sell a limited amount back,
Oh, okay.
which I'll explain in a minute. The one thing is all electric companies have some charge that, whatever they call it, the connection charge and the transmission charge and this charge and
Yeah.
that charge. So you have about somewhere between $12, $15 or something like that.
Okay.
That's going to be a constant monthly thing no matter what.
Okay.
Beyond that, yeah, there are lots of months we don't pay. There are months we're negative. Last month was one of them, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And what's your electric bill like? Have you been able to offset most of your usage?
A lot of it, again, during the winter, of course, we're not
Yeah.
generating that much, but if you net out for the entire year, probably somewhere in the 80-85% range is solar
Okay.
of our total power usage.
Gotcha. So a pretty good chunk there.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
And again, in Ohio, what I was going to mention was, in Ohio, the way net metering works is we can sell power back to the, so in the middle of July, when everybody's running their air conditioner, we're selling power like mad. 'cause
Yeah.
We're running our air conditioner too, but we got way more than that.
Yeah.
But what happens is you can't, the way the agreement works is you can't generate more than you're actually using. So,
Okay.
and that, in fact, you'll see when people price, bid on systems, residential systems in this area, typically they'll aim for 80 to 90% of your usage so that you never go over your annual
I gotcha.
usage, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. If you do, you get penalized by the amount they pay back drops really significantly. You don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you had to do any maintenance or anything
No.
like that on it?
Nope, we do no maintenance at all.
So even like if it snows, it just kind of slides off
Yep,
and you're good
yep.
to go?
The only one we had, ironically, was this February when we
Okay.
had the ice. There was
Oh,
so
yeah.
much ice that built up and then it got really, really cold and
Mm-hmm.
it stayed cold for a couple of weeks. And during that period, it was just iced over.
Okay. So
But
basically can't use it.
yeah, but it was like 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the ice, normally when it snows, there's just enough heat on the panels that will create a layer and it'll slide off
Yeah.
and we're good to go.
That's
Yeah.
good to know. So you got your Tesla Model 3 hooked up here too. Does that run directly off the solar, or can you run it
No,
directly
it's
off
all,
the
the
solar?
solar is just tied into our grid feed, and
Okay.
then so it's whichever way. If we're generating excess, it's flowing out. If we're using, it's flowing in.
Gotcha.
Basically, when the Tesla's charging, it typically would be on a day like today. We've got nice sun. We probably could generate enough solar that we're covering all our charging costs at that particular moment.
What was your kind of main motivation for getting solar installed here?
Yeah, I would. Part of it was definitely it's just earth friendly. I
Yeah.
mean, trying to save the planet, so to speak. But the finance was there, and we probably wouldn't have done it if it didn't make sense financially.
Yeah.
So yeah, we thought in the long run we're going to save money. Now it takes a while to pay back. I mean, you're talking about years, but it's an upfront cost, and from then on you're saving pretty significant dollars.
Yeah.
And of course, again, our expectation is we will end up with time of day rates. We'll be able to do some with that to save a little more money. Over the years, electricity costs will eventually go up. We'll save more money there, that sort of thing.
Yeah. You said it's 7.2, is that what you
7.2,
said?
yeah.
And then what's like typical day? What do you get? Because you said you're usually not at full capacity.
Yeah, I can actually show you. That's on the control.
Oh, you can see it right here. That's cool.
Yeah, you can see we're generating, our day, we've already generated 8 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
For the month, we've done 430. For the year, we've done 1.4. So currently we are generating, currently we're doing about 4.2 kilowatts.
Okay.
So anyway, I think I mentioned we've done like
1.4 megawatt hours.
megawatt hours so
That's
far this
crazy.
year, and for the life of the system, 14, almost 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're up in the neighborhood of 6 point something per year.
Yeah.
And you know, little factors affect. As an example, the neighbor had a tree kind of over in this open space here.
Oh, yeah.
And they just happened to cut it down a month or two ago.
There you go.
And I didn't think it wasn't really shading it much, but just enough so that the first hour in the morning we'd lose a little. So we probably went up
Yeah.
10% just because they cut down the tree. Now
Nice.
we're in Clintonville. We love trees in Clintonville. So
I noticed.
you know, so I don't want to cut down the trees, but you
Yeah.
know, things like that
Yeah.
make a difference. The greatest hazard in Columbus, and definitely in Clintonville, we lost a couple weeks early in the game because a squirrel got through the squirrel guards.
Oh, okay.
Squirrels
Oh, you can
love
see them
to
up
chew
there.
on wires. So anybody installing, yeah, get a squirrel guard. Make sure every little crack is sealed. I mean,
That's
the
smart.
installers came back, found the squirrel, evicted it very gently, plugged up the hole in the squirrel guard, and we're good to go.
There you go.
But
Cool. Well, appreciate you having us out.
Certainly.
Check out your solar system. So I'm here with Tim. He's got a solar system installed on his house. You said you've had it for almost 5 years now, right?
I've had it since 2014. December of 2014 is when the first panels were installed.
Gotcha. And you did it kind of a staggered install, correct?
That's correct. I got a cheat sheet here to help me remember. So
It's all good.
Yeah, in December 2014, we put in 37 panels, so that was about 9.25 kilowatt system. Does work pretty good for a while until we got a Tesla, and then I'm like,
Pulling a little more power.
Yeah, it wasn't that much. It was averaging maybe about $35 more a month.
Okay.
And the system that I installed, you could run 16 panels in a string. 37 panels didn't max out the system, so I'm like, well, let's just max out the system and compensate for the installation or the addition of the Tesla. So we had 11 more panels December of 2017.
Gotcha.
Get all the numbers right. So that was about another 2.75 kilowatts that we added to the system, so that brought us up to 12 kilowatts approximately. In the summer months when we're charging the Tesla and the air conditioner's running, it still wasn't providing as much power as I really wanted. Mm-hmm. And we plan to get a second Tesla at some point, probably by the end of this year.
Gotcha.
So that'll be another car charging, randomly, see how that balances out. But I'm like, well, I've still got space on my roof. It looks like we could put about another 13 panels up there.
Okay.
So we added 13 more panels in September of last year, 2020.
Gotcha. And
that was about another 4.55 kilowatts. So that brings us up to 61 total panels and 16.55 kilowatts of power.
Wow. Okay.
And in between the second expansion and the third expansion, I added 3 Powerwalls.
Okay.
So it was 2 expansions, the Powerwall, and then the third expansion.
Gotcha. Do you feel like, since you had it installed, do you think it's been worth it for you guys, both financially and just personally? Do you think it's worth it for people to get solar on their home?
I definitely think it's worth getting solar on your home. The one caveat that I would like to leave people with is we have a lot of electrical stuff in our house. We got a lot of computers and things that are on like all the time, as well as a Tesla that takes a fair amount to charge and whatever. So I've got a pretty big system. Most people probably don't need something this big.
Gotcha.
So look at your own power usage before you go buying. If you hear this, don't think you need a huge system to run your house. The other thing is, don't expect it to produce, all year round. The wintertime, the days get so short. Anti-cloud cover, snow on the panels really reduces your efficiency, especially in the northern parts of the world.
And it's good to know too, like in your situation, you're able to expand it too. You can always start with a small system and then expand it as your needs grow and as you need more power. You're the first solar we visited today with backup batteries. You're one of the few that actually have them.
Well, I've got 3 of them. As you can see, they got 2 stacked and 1 separate over here. This feeds into what they call the generation panel.
Okay.
So this has the solar panels come in down here, and then these are the 3 Tesla Powerwalls. So solar
Gotcha.
and battery backup all feed into this panel.
Okay.
And this is the gateway panel. So from here, stuff feeds into here, and the grid power also comes into this.
Okay.
And you can think of this as an intelligent switch. So normally, whichever one is stronger feeds into my breaker box, which is over here.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So,
Nice.
so this feeds into here, which powers the house.
Gotcha. Okay.
The choice for what's feeding into here is determined by this. So on a sunny day like today, all of that solar power is enough to run my house. So it comes in here. This says, you know, okay, this is what, you know, we're going to pull our power from. So it comes from the solar over.
Okay.
At night, it comes from the batteries into here and up to here and over.
Oh yeah, you can see the whole.
We got currently generating about 10 kilowatt hours of solar at this point, and it's using 1.3 kilowatts to run the house, and the rest is going to charge the batteries at the moment.
Okay. Oh, so it won't actually show the Powerwall on there. It'll just show back to grid.
Well, it currently has the Powerwall fully charged, so you just missed the charging part of the Powerwall.
Oh, there you go.
So if for some reason the batteries deplete, which they will start doing that now that I've got the Tesla back home, like probably about 5 or 6 in the morning. I start charging at about 4 in the morning. So, but you know, if the battery depletes and there's no solar, then the grid comes in and it feeds over. So
Gotcha. Okay.
if the grid dies, it actually has a breaker in here that eliminates the ability for the solar or power walls to feed back to the grid.
Feed. Yeah.
So normally, if everything's working right, if I've got more solar than I need to run the house, then it'll try and charge the batteries. If the batteries are full, then if there's still excess solar, it'll push it out to the grid, and my neighbors get to use it.
Okay. There you go. Cool. Well, thanks to Tim for showing off his solar install. Here with Todd and Mryia. They're the leaders of Drive Electric Columbus here in Columbus, obviously. Got solar installed at their home pretty recently, right? Been in the past 6 months or
November.
so? November you've had it up? Okay. What was your kind of initial motivation for installing solar on your home?
Well, we've got 2 electric cars, so that's a big one right there to start off with. And the fact that we could back up our house loads potentially with battery backup and the solar on top of it made sense too.
Any issues on the install, like trying to get permits or anything weird like that? I'm guessing
No, they took care of most of that stuff for us. It was really seamless on our part. We had a couple things to sign with AEP, but it was all digital and all managed through a website, so it was kind of really painless.
That's good.
Yeah.
We do have an HOA, and they had basic rules. It had to be professionally installed,
Okay.
and they couldn't be the blue panels.
Oh, okay.
They have to be a more roof color.
I gotcha. Okay, that's interesting. And what's your electric bill been like since you switched?
Well, so in the February to March timeframe, we still had some snow cover there for a couple days in February, and the panels, we didn't get up there and scrape them off. We just let the snow melt, naturally. But we had some snow cover days, so we didn't get production on those days. But last month's bill was $10.10.
Wow.
And this March to April bill that we just got yesterday, $0.
Wow.
They actually owe us $6.41.
There you go.
So
That's awesome.
we're switching from a power bill to a rooftop solar bill.
Yeah, gotcha. So did you go with finance then, or
We did, yes.
Okay, that's what I've seen a
And
lot of people doing.
it's a little bit larger system, so that was
Yeah.
not something that we had out of pocket.
Yeah. Any tips you would give to people that are looking to go solar on their own home? Things to look out for, or kind of consider.
There are some predatory companies out there. Quite honestly, there are predatory companies out there that'll sell you 5 solar panels for $50,000 and make it sound like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that's not actually true. My recommendation: get multiple quotes. Talk to multiple people. Talk to people you may know that have solar. Get some ideas of what it is, what it involves. And don't get sold something you don't need.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with a large system like this, we had conversations with the installer. We showed them our last, 8 years worth of power bills, 3.5 years worth of power bills with 2 EVs, and make sure that you right size your system based on installer recommendations.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to get second opinions.
Yeah.
So don't go with the first one you get quoted, because they'll, like I said, they may make it sound like it's best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
But
I gotcha. Oh, nice. Okay.
Cartoon extra
So this
system.
comes straight from the panels.
Yeah,
right?
this is included with our system.
Okay.
It comes off of the smart hub in the basement, just like everything else does. But
I think everybody's had these Solar Edge inverters. I've heard those are kind of the standard here.
there are a few others on the market, a lot of new products coming out, but this is the latest that Solar Edge has to offer. Kind of smart in that it allows you to hook up 2 batteries to each inverter if you wanted to.
Okay.
It allows you to use the backup interface, which is, if we were to drop this switch right here, 3 seconds later everything would come back and we'd be running off of solar and battery.
Nice.
Or if the power decides to go out for some reason, we would be in the same situation. We'd be able to come back up on solar and battery within a few seconds when the transfer switch cuts away and disconnects itself from the grid until it finds and registers that there's power available, so it can come back online and use grid power.
Nice.
Been
So you've
great.
got, is there a reason they did like 2 separate hubs here instead of just bringing it all in one?
Yeah, I think they had to break it up because of the fact that the east-west scenario with power in the morning from
like
the sun
one of them
coming up.
could be overproducing.
Yeah,
or
we didn't want it to
not as
be
balanced.
Oversized too much for it, but I think that's what drove them to the design that they did with it. Because you've
Gotcha.
got 18 and 12 on one side, so 30 panels south and east, and then the other 12 on the west side.
Cool. Then your battery here.
Yeah.
You got, how big is this one?
So
Kilowatt
that's-
hour sized?
They say it's 10. The nameplate's 9.6, but it's 9.3 usable.
Okay.
So figure out the math on that. But yeah, so give or take 9.3 kilowatts of
Okay.
usable power, and it can drive and charge at a rate of 5 kilowatts.
Okay. How long would that last you if you like lost power right now and had to keep running stuff?
Well, we would turn a lot of things off probably because we've got a lot of
Smart.
computer systems, a lot of electronics and other things that we don't necessarily need running in an outage. So right now, as is with everything on that you see on, it'd probably run us about 5 or 6 hours.
Okay. That's pretty good.
And we are doing self-consumption, so we're running the battery overnight so that we're not pulling power from the grid. And we're taking it
Okay.
down to about 20%, so we're riding in that, not making it dangerous for the battery or anything, and
Yeah.
keeping the capacity of battery. But that may change as we get to a point with additional production during the summer and all the bright days. So
So can you program it to say like, all right, during this hours we want to use battery only, or?
absolutely.
Okay, that's really cool.
And that's part of the challenge with the new equipment is that interface and setting that all up. So they're still working on the interface for the users and the
is
system owners.
Is that through Solar Edge?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that has that whole app. Okay.
And they've got APIs, so you can pull numbers and play with them for yourself. So it's really cool from
Yeah.
a data nerd perspective.
Definitely.
If that stuff makes you happy, you can do that and pull information from them. We were going to be out of power for a few hours
Okay.
because they had to basically strip all this down, take some of this stuff, move some cables around, feed that back into the. This is now a sub panel. This was the main panel. Now it's a sub panel.
Oh, okay.
And what we ended up doing was using our leaf with it was oversized, but a 2 kilowatt inverter on the leaf. And we ran these lights. We ran the internet, cable modem, the firewall,
Wow.
router, some lights, and ran the leaf, Only used about, I say 40 or 50% of the battery in that amount of
pretty good.
time. Yeah, it's a leaf. It's not got a huge battery.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that was great. So we still had Wi-Fi, we still had lights, we still
Yeah,
had.
that's nice.
They had lights here instead of using their battery-powered things that were, just kind
So
of
they
aimed
enjoyed
at
that,
stuff. So
yeah.
they really appreciated that.
Well, appreciate you showing it off to us. and
Absolutely.
We'll get some B-roll and stuff now. You guys can
Yeah.
go about your day, though. I don't want to keep you for too long.
No problem.
I'm here with Matt. He's got solar installed on his house as well. How long have you had it installed here?
So we put our solar in right at the end, about November 2019.
Okay.
So we're going on just about 2 years.
Gotcha.
Going into third year.
And do you know what size system you have off the top of your head?
Yeah, so the solar itself is 6.5 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
Or, yeah, kilowatts.
Kilowatts.
Sorry, still working out all the increments there.
Yeah.
So 6.5 kilowatts. And then the inverter right behind us is 5 kilowatts.
Okay.
Biggest reason behind that, we were actually looking at the way really just our general energy profile over 1 year's worth of data capture. And we were finding very infrequent times we were going above 5 kilowatts in terms of use.
Yeah.
The really only excess is when we, in the dead of winter, if the backup heat is really kicking on, or if we're charging the car. But outside of that, we went with a 5 kilowatt system on the inverter, just so that we can get a lot of good energy output.
Yeah.
So all in, we cover about 87%
Gotcha.
of our energy use throughout the year.
That's awesome. Yeah. And who did your install, and what was your install process for you personally?
So we shopped around a little bit. We ended up going with Third Sun Solar out of Athens. They just were highly recommended by some coworkers and fellow colleagues. Also really liked just working with a local Ohio firm.
Yeah, exactly.
So the whole process all in was super easy. And this is true for a lot of solar companies. I would absolutely recommend it. A lot of them are there just as a part of the whole education. It is a little bit of a process, but they're definitely able to take you through it. So, it was a quick email, quick site visit, maybe a couple phone calls after that. All in, 2.5 weeks, and we basically were at the point of ready to pull the trigger. We were actually in the middle of a net meter flip anyways, so I think actually what they did was just bumped us up in the queue. Okay. So we were able to have the net meter, everything on the utility side was taken care of.
That's great.
Really, in a matter of 1 to 2 months. So from pulling the trigger to doing the install, maybe about a 2-month type process, which is about typical depending on how involved it is or how big a process.
And that's install and everything about 2 months?
Install and everything.
Wow.
Actual installation only took 2 days.
Wow.
So yeah, and we're on the back side here.
Yeah.
Essentially how a lot of systems will go in is it really is a simple bracket mount system. So it's just a couple screws going into the roof, and then plumbing the wiring through. That's typically just going to go through your attic.
Yeah.
So really it was just make sure all the attic crawl spaces were clear. They took care of the rest, and the wiring is just going through both of our roofs and then down the backside here to the inverter. Nice.
Okay. And did you go with a finance system, or did you pay up front for everything?
Yes and yes. So we did look at some financing options. Ultimately, the interest rates was a little higher than what we were hoping for.
Oh, okay.
So we did go with we essentially purchased it outright through Third Sun.
Okay.
But we also then financed it through what is essentially a home equity loan.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we went with Huntington Bank, a local regional bank that we already have our mortgage with. So we did a 5-year home equity loan. And there is an additional state incentive program where they'll take I think it's 2 or 3 percentage points off of the loan to just bring it down even lower. I laugh a little bit because we're essentially at 2.5% on a 5-year term, which is a pretty good rate. Mm-hmm. But you can just get that outright now with where interest rates are. But in doing so, that was just a way for us to spread out the cost a little bit over 5 years. So the whole system ultimately was about $19,500 with the purchase and financing. That's a way to spread that out. But then also take into account, we were able to take advantage of the full federal tax credit for solar. So that was 30%.
Gotcha.
So all in, we're at about $13,000.
Okay.
For total project cost.
Gotcha.
So with all that said, we're looking at an ROI around 9 years.
Okay.
But that's also not bearing in mind even just a modest price premium whenever the time would come to sell the house.
Yeah,
that would definitely get us back to black, if not even a little bit in the profit margin.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what's your biggest change in your electric bill been?
So here in AP, Ohio, we're at it's $14 a month is your general tariff.
Flat,
So flat rate, and it's a cold, cloudy day. I was telling you I got to take all my plants in because it's going down to 30 tonight. Yep. Very beginning of April, but actually we just got our first zero bill.
Wow.
So already in terms of our solar output. We really see it ramp up in March timeframe from last year and this year. And we'll basically be in a net generator stance all the way through to November.
Gotcha.
So it really is like anywhere from 8 to 10 months of the year. We're essentially paying nothing for added generation. And that's
awesome.
Charging the car, it's a fully electrified house, so everything is running. Nothing.
And you've got a Leaf, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Is that your only EV right now?
That's our only EV.
Okay.
So it's a smaller battery size at 24 kilowatt hours. There's the kilowatt hours. and charge at 6.6.
Yeah.
So with that, definitely it's a smaller battery size. I will say though, and actually over the summer, something I was running into is we were just generating so much electricity that I did just make it available to neighbors who have Teslas
awesome.
and other stuff.
There you go.
So yeah, if anyone's watching in Hilliard, hit me up and I'll gladly lend you a charge. But
That's awesome.
you are only allowed to produce up to 100% of your total energy use in a 12-month period. After that, yeah, they'll consider you an energy generator and start billing you for that. So that's why we shot for that 87%.
Yeah.
It's essentially a game of try to get close without going over. So
Yeah,
price
exactly.
is right,
So any advice you'd give to people that are looking to do this on their own home?
I mean, it's almost the same as electric vehicles, to be honest, where it's very new. It definitely has a price premium attached to it, but there's also total ROI on the other side. And that ROI is only getting better and better by the day, especially if you live in states or other regions that have more favorable financing terms or incentive terms.
Definitely.
I guess the simplest way to say that is we really have nothing going for us in this neck of the woods, but there's tons of folks that are doing it because, first of all, we're very passionate about it. We really want to do our part. It's almost that last step and electrify everything.
Definitely, yeah.
Where it's just a very exciting project to be able to do. But with that, if you really want it to be a cost-driven decision, it is easier to do than not. That being said, there's definitely wherever you are, there has to be someone who owns solar nearby you, or even a group.
Yeah.
And definitely can always reach out to companies as well. Do not there are a lot of fly-by-night salesmen to that extent. So definitely do a little bit of research.
That's awesome. Well, it's getting cold here, so we're gonna wrap up. But thanks for Matt for letting us check out his solar. We're gonna get some drone shots and some B-roll of everything. But thank you again.
Yeah, you bet.
And thank you to you if you made it this far. I know this is one of my longest videos ever. I usually don't do this kind of long form interview style content, but if you do enjoy it, definitely hit that like button and I'll try to do more stuff like this. Thanks again to everybody that showed off their solar system for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.